Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode 142. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella.
Professor, happy Father's Day.
Same to you, Titanium.
Absolutely.
Same to you. And
Absolutely.
to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day to you. The one day we can do whatever the heck we want and really not get a lot of crap about it. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a great little quick dinner at Cap Grill.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Oh, man, that food is off the charts. None of my kids were there. Well, my oldest daughter, Isabella, showed up. God bless her. And we had a lovely time. I didn't do much else. I didn't fish, unfortunately.
That's surprising to me.
I had two kind of scenarios that put my line in the water, and none of them came through. So, but you know something, we got a lot to cover.
We do.
We got the boys to cover. Thank God.
The boys are back.
The boys are back. The boys are back. And I'm looking forward to this. So let's proceed, sir.
All right. Well, let's first start the show by thanking the listeners to help bring the show to you. Those are our patrons. Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you become a member. I want to thank all the listeners out there that help this show keep going, and we appreciate your support. So patreon.com/SuperTalk if you want to become a member. All right, well, let's jump right into it. The boys returned with a vengeance.
I see you got a boys comic there displayed promptly.
Yeah, that's actually one that we were graced with last season. Probably, I would argue, the greatest episode of the boys, at least so far, in all three seasons, plus the first three episodes of season 4 that we've seen. That Hero-gasm episode was off the chain.
Crazy.
Well, the fight between Homelander, Soldier Boy, and Butcher. Oh, when he was on the Temp V. I mean, that was just spectacular.
And then A-Train just running that guy over the cement, like shredding him.
Yeah.
Like a cheese grater against the cement.
Blue Hawk.
Blue Hawk
or something like that.
Crippled his brother.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into season 4.
Season 4 debuted on Amazon Prime last Thursday. So if you have not yet watched it, what rock have you been living under? It came back with a vengeance. So we got they've been doing a lot of hype, getting ready for this season. The cast has been on the promotional trail. They've been doing a lot of promotion, especially a lot of online promotions, been doing a lot of interviews. And so, you know, this is a big deal for the network. And we got a lot of trailers, a lot of previews. I don't know about your feeling about this, Titanium, but I feel like these first 3 episodes being released as they were, had we gotten these serially one at a time over 3 weeks, I might have been a little disappointed.
Yeah.
But the fact that we got all 3 at once, and I was able to watch all 3 at once, I felt okay about it. I was like, all right, the season's back. It was a lot of setup. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh, no. Yeah. The political aspect of it is taking a long time to set up, and they're setting up the storyline. The brutality is still there. The wacky craziness is still there.
They actually, when you watch this on Amazon Prime, they start with a recap basically of what happened in season 3 or what happened most recently. And the recap was the first minute of the recap was basically heads exploding and guts flying everywhere.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, the recaps that I've watched on X actually kind of helped a lot.
Oh, so they do have some.
Yeah, some people have
videos or whatever.
Have you seen the recap on Barstool Sports about the House of Dragons?
Oh, no.
One of the guys at Barstool Sports did a House of Dragons recap. So when you watch this season, you kind of get caught up quickly.
Yeah. My wife needed that.
It was fantastic.
We turned it on last night, and she was like,
"Wait, what
happened last season?
Wait, whose kid is that?"
Remember that?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. I got the same thing. I got the same thing. But I watched that recap. It was phenomenal.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the recap they did for this was, I mean, literally the first minute of it was just brutality after brutality, and I'm like, oh my god. But so look, that's back. And if you're squeamish or you don't like violence, and they have a lot of violence in the show, and it's grotesque, gory, violent, like purposely grotesque, and they sensationalize it, which is kind of why it's funny. But we do kind of, I think this season starts not long after the end of season 3. So if you remember, at the end of season 3, there was a big final confrontation between Homelander and Maeve, and Ryan was there, and Soldier Boy, and there was this big fight in this tower. Maeve ended up, sacrificing herself to kind of she tackled Soldier Boy out of a window as he was like doing his nuclear explosion thing. And Ryan went with Homelander, kind of left with Homelander, and we see that Ryan is now living with Homelander, and he's
much older.
He's a little older, yeah. The
same actor that plays him is much older.
Yeah, but he's mentoring him and trying to get him to be like him, like his dad, right?
I couldn't remember what happened last season to Soldier Boy, and then I remembered that the CIA had him on ice.
They put him back on ice.
Yeah,
he's back on ice.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of the first intro for this season is Victoria Newman, who is now the vice president of the United States. If you remember, she was on the ticket running for president and vice president. She's the vice presidential nominee. Her big platform, her campaign platform, was putting Homelander in jail,
right?
And having the Supes like come, be brought to justice.
Yeah.
And she's a Supe herself.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was the big plot point last season. Well, we catch up with her giving her acceptance speech. They had won the election, and Homelander and Ryan show up, and Homelander and her had kind of had this little agreement about how
he stole the V, right? The what's it called? The drug for Compound V for her daughter, who was dying and ill, to give it to her daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, and her daughter's a little freaky now.
We find out in one of the episodes.
That episode, it's like the first thing that happens, right? So the boys are there to try to take out Victoria Newman.
Yeah.
So they're there to try to take her out.
They know she's a Supe.
Well, Huey knows she's a Supe, right? And he used to work for her in her campaign, and they were friends, quote unquote. But now he's like, oh, we gotta get rid of her, right? Yeah. And
the CIA is pushing to get rid of her, yeah.
Right. And so they were gonna put acid in her eye drops and thinking that was going to kill her.
Right.
And so Frenchie and Kimiko are being escorted into her hotel room to put these eye drops, switch out her eye drops because they were told that acid would take care of her.
Right.
And her daughter walks in on them. And she's like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh, security detail. They had the CIA had gotten them inside access to the Secret Service detail that was protecting her. And the daughter's like, oh no. And these like tentacles come out of her mouth and they start ripping off limbs and, shredding people's faces and everything. I'm like, oh my God. They're like, Frenchie's like, she's a Supe. She's a Supe.
Yeah. And he's shooting her and she's not dying.
Oh, no.
She keeps going. And she actually I don't know if it's acid based or the tentacles wrap around Kimiko's arm and rips it off. Yeah, it's crazy.
And then her arm's growing back.
It started to grow back,
just like Deadpool's did when he was dismembered by the Juggernaut. And so to escape her, her and Frenchie jump out of a window, and we find out that Starlight can fly now. She's
been practicing,
teaching herself how to use her powers to fly, and she tries to grab Kimiko. And she's got a little baby arm, so she misses.
Yeah.
It was fun. And Kimiko just goes splat on the ground.
Yeah.
But she is able to save Frenchie. But yeah, Kimiko gets up and like half of her face is off, and she puts it back on and heals it up and everything. But great opening to the episode. But Victoria Newman confronts Huey in the van. And Huey throws acid on her, does nothing to her. She's like, what are you doing? I got to be on camera, And,
you ruined my jacket. Now I have to change.
And then Butcher steps up and just shoots her straight in the head, and the bullet bounces off.
So she's got some invulnerability that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
Which we should have, because Marie and Gen V took a laser blast to the chest from Homelander, and she survived that. So she's got some vulnerability, invulnerability
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
So just bizarre, but you're right. I think if these weren't released all together, it would be a little slow for me. And of course the whole political, conservative, religious right is overplayed to the top. And it's very overly done, I think. But I guess it's all like comical now. I mean, they've made it so that it's like
Well,
comical.
they do it on purpose. Obviously, they do a lot of this on purpose. They try to portray, I'd say, popular tropes in the extreme on this show.
Right.
Just kind of make it seem like our real world is ridiculous too, right?
Yeah.
So, but the first episode really centered around Homeland. Like Butcher tries to convince Ryan's with Homelander. Butcher tries to convince Ryan to come back with him, to get him away from Homelander, and Homelander's like, no, he's with me now. We find out that Butcher's got a big tumor growing in his head, and he's got like 6 months to live.
Yeah.
And that first episode really focused around Homelander.
What was that worm on his temple?
Yeah,
What
we
was
don't.
that?
Well, that's part of the thing that's going.
Growing in
That's
his
part of
head?
the temp V did to him, right? I don't know. We don't know what is actually
That was
is.
bizarre.
Yeah,
Like there's something moving around in him.
yeah.
Oh boy.
But we meet a couple of the new members of the Seven. The first one we meet is this. They're trying to figure who's going to be the next members of the Seven, and one of the people is Sister Sage, and we find out her powers are she's the smartest person on the planet.
Is she? I mean, really, is she? Because
She is.
okay, but I feel like her character was lackluster. Really, she's manipulative as fuck. Like she's very manipulative. But I
anyway,
don't
that's
think
her
how
powers.
Yeah,
right?
the smartest person on the
Well,
planet.
and Homelander, that nobody in the Seven is interested in her joining the Seven, but Homelander goes and sees her in plain clothes and is like, okay, let me see how smart you are. And she's like, well, your prostate's enlarged, you're peeing a lot, you've got gray hair, you're dyeing your hair every 3 days instead of every 10 days.
Yeah.
And he's like, so we see Homelander's dealing with a little bit of his sense of mortality, even though he's effectively invulnerable and has all these incredible strength and can fly and do all this. He's getting old.
Yeah.
And he's now dealing with that. And he basically says, look, I need your help. I've got a plan. I need some help executing it. I'm surrounded by idiots. I need you to come on board. She's like, I'm not joining the Seven, but I'll help you. Right. Basically.
Yeah.
And so she comes on board and she starts hatching a plan tells Homelander, here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
You need to get everybody fighting against each other. And then eventually they'll be looking for somebody to help save the day. And you're the one that swings in and saves everybody.
Right.
So she helps hatch a plan so there's a big faction of the public that's on Homelander's side and another big faction of the public that's on Starlight's side. If we remember, Starlight left the Seven and it was all against Vought and everybody else. So
yeah.
There's two big factions that are warring against each other in popular culture at the moment. And Homelander's on trial for zapping the guy at the end of last season, right? And they basically hatch this plan where they make the Deep and A-Train and Black Noir kill these three Homelander supporters.
Huge supporters, yeah.
Well, one of them is Mother Milk's ex-wife's new husband.
That left him,
yeah, that left him. He's a big Homelander supporter. Anyway, they bash their skulls in with bats, which is crazy. And then A-Train drops him off at the scene of Homelander's trial and frame the Starlighters for inciting a riot and
killing them
and killing those people.
Yeah, this is all Sister Sage's plan.
Right, that's her plan.
Yeah,
and Homelander is found innocent.
But I still think she's devious. I still think she has her own agenda.
She has an agenda.
She has her own agenda for sure.
Yeah. So was episode 1. Episode 2, the beginning of episode 2 was hilarious. Will Ferrell makes a cameo. They're basically doing kind of a ripoff of Blindside, and A-Train is like this Supe who's really fast. He's a great athlete and
slinging yayo in the ghettos.
Will Ferrell, it plays his high school coach who's trying to bring him. Come, there's always a hot meal for you back at our place. It was pretty funny. But that was the part where you were wondering. You're like, wait a minute, how is Black Noir talking? And number one, how is he alive? If we remember last season, Homelander killed him.
Yeah.
Basically,
Gutted him.
basically reached inside of him and pulled all his organs out. And so how's he even alive?
Yeah.
And it seems to us, the viewers, like they've replaced Black Noir with somebody else,
Right.
another Supe. We don't know who it is.
We don't even know if he's a Supe. Is he a Supe? He hasn't shown us any powers.
Well, what were Black Noir's powers?
He was super strong, could take a hit and a bullet.
Well, I don't know. The bat to the guy's head that he bashed in was pretty.
I don't know.
Anybody. Well, anyway, he talks.
Yeah.
And A-Train's like, look, dude.
We still don't know who he is.
Yeah. Look, dude, you got to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
That's part of your persona, right? You got to keep your mouth. So we don't know who he is.
Do we do every fucking thing he tells us to?
Right.
And he's like, yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Huh. And from the showrunner actually mentioned that it's the exact same actor that played Black Noir last season. It's just now he's playing a different person playing Black Noir, right? It. So, but anyway, that was kind of interesting beginning of that episode. We then meet another new potential member, this girl Firecracker, and she is being portrayed as a alt-right right-wing extremist who has her own podcast and her own YouTube channel and is making videos about the Starlighters and what they're trying to do,
conspiracy theories.
Yeah. And Sister Sage goes to this conference called TruthCon, which is obviously this like alt-right conference to recruit her into the Seven, because she feels like she might be an interesting asset to bring into the team, not because of her powers, because we see that her powers are
following.
Her powers are like jubilees, like she can make fireworks with her fingers or
sparkles.
Something. Yeah, sparkles.
Right. She's super strong too.
Yeah. But one of her, or I guess the guy who runs her channel, who's in love with her,
Splitter.
Yeah, he's kind of like multiple man. He can create multiple copies of himself.
Or duplicate. Remember her?
Duplicate, from Invincible.
Yeah.
But the scene in the sauna was
that was disturbing.
The human centipede.
That was like the Herogasm episode.
Oh my god, it was just so disgusting.
Crazy.
And then the pink eye references afterwards. All these
and he's running around completely frontal nude, naked, chasing them, fighting them. And then Butcher kills the Prime one, and they're like, "Oh no, not Prime!" And they all die.
Yeah,
it's pretty
but
brutal.
Firecracker ends up getting away, and then the beginning of and A-Train. One of the other things happened in episode 2. A-Train gave Huey and Starlight
He's
evidence.
starting to get a little conscience, isn't he?
Yeah.
You think his character arc is going to flip to being good?
Well, he gives Huey and Starlight evidence that clears the Starlighters from murdering the people. And they ask, "Why are you doing this?" He says, "Don't ask. Just take my gift and whatever." And in episode 3, at the beginning of episode 3, Mother's Milk says, "I want to try to flip A-Train." Yeah. He's like, "I want to try to get him to come to our side and become a mole." Very similar to how Starlight was when she was with the Seven.
Right.
And he does go and talk to him and says, "Hey, I know what you're dealing with. Your brother's crippled and, you're under Homelander's thumb and all this other stuff. You could do some real good here." And he reluctantly agrees to kind of help them out.
He doesn't run away. He doesn't split it. He doesn't kill him.
Right. And so Butcher, we meet Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who from Walking Dead fame. We didn't know what character he's playing. He plays an or kind of a CIA agent that had worked with Butcher in the past, and they hatch a plan to try to capture Ryan. If he's not going to come to me willingly, I need to like sedate him, and then we'll put him in they have like, I guess, like a vault or something that they can put him in where he'll be okay. And so he gets Ryan to come see him, and they put, I don't know what it was.
Well, and then I don't know, some kind of drug
or something. And
it's gonna take more than that to get Ryan down.
They said it was something you could take down a bull rhino with this much, whatever it was. And he bakes it into these cookies, and he's
offering him a cookie.
Ryan comes over to offer him a cookie. He doesn't eat one, but then they just like hang out. Yeah. And Ryan misses his mom very much, and knows that his mom loved Butcher, and knows how bad Homelander is, and he's kind of like, this Butcher guy, I don't want him to die.
Right.
He's a good dude. And they kind of hang out and play foosball, and just and Butcher said, "You know what? Screw it. I'm not gonna try to put him under." It's like And then Ryan ends up. Another thing that happened this episode is that Homelander's trying to get some exposure for Ryan, like
Oh,
to get people to know him better. Um,
we also learned that a lot of their heroing and good deeds was staged.
it's all a lot of it's
A
staged.
lot of it staged.
So they stage this. They're doing a rehearsal for his first public appearance
Yeah.
on camera, and it's going to be the staged robbery that somehow the Deep and Black Noir aren't able to stop, but Ryan shows up and is able to stop it.
Right.
And I mean, it's just the uncomfortable acting that was happening during the rehearsals was like crazy. But then they do the real thing, and Ryan stops the guy from robbing the bank, and then Homelander looks at him and says, "Push him." Push him,
Yeah.
push him. And he shoves him and he goes splat against the
Ugh.
side of a building. And so Ryan's feeling really bad about killing the dude.
And the little girl continues with her line, and she's
Yeah.
in total shock.
Yeah, she's like,
Like, thank you, you saved
you
me.
saved me. Yeah, really. But Ryan's having a little remorse.
There's some conflict in
Yeah.
him. I don't know which way he's going to go because Homelander is so sadistic, so psychopathic.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if, and as a young boy, he's very influential.
He's conflicted, but he's
he's definitely conflicted. So I'm hoping he goes the right direction. Because
you kind of can see where they're setting up a little bit of like, they're gonna kind of
Homelander though is beside himself when he finds out he was with Butcher though.
Yeah.
He's really that whole
and that scene.
Oh my God.
In the mirror.
Homelander's having talks to himself again. He's back. And Butcher is also talking to his ex-wife. He's having visions. Do you think Huey's having visions?
Frenchie was having visions.
Frenchie
was on drugs, and because the guy he's dating this guy happens to be the son of a family he was hired to kill when he worked for the mob.
And he did.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's conflicted.
Yes.
He feels guilty.
Well, he should. He killed the family.
He's having all kinds of weird visions.
Yeah.
And then, do you think Huey's having visions too?
Not that no. Huey's thing.
Is his mom real, or is that something?
No, it's real.
Okay.
His dad had a stroke and is in the hospital, and he goes in to visit his dad, and his mom shows up, and his mom left them when Huey was like 8 or 8 or 9 years old, and has never been seen since. And we find out that she had postpartum really bad. She wanted to kill herself. She basically attempted suicide and was unsuccessful. But once she got better, the dad said, just stay away. I've got things. You just get yourself better. And so Huey hadn't seen his mom forever, and now she has been granted all the authority over her ex-husband. Or I guess they're probably still married currently, but Huey's dad basically gave her permission to kind of end his life if he was a vegetable, and Huey's like, I don't want her doing that.
Right.
He has no right to make that decision. So that's what Huey's been dealing with. But anyway, at the end of the episode, like you said, Ryan comes back and there was this in the third episode was a really good scene. Mother's Milk and Huey find out that Victoria Newman and Homelander and Sister Sage are going to meet at this rehearsal for the ice show. It's basically the 7 ice capades.
Let's talk about that.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. That was probably one of my favorite scenes of all the boys. It was such a shit show. He accidentally lasers the chick on ice. I guess
cuts her in half.
Maeve.
Cuts her in half.
Cuts her in half, and she's like, and they all freak out and they start skating and over each other and cutting fingers off and like slashing each other's necks with their ice. Oh my God.
It's crazy.
What a shit show.
Right. So Huey basically has to crawl through the vents to listen to their conversation, and we find out they're trying to plot to kill the president. And but Homelander kind of detects Huey up in the vents and is trying to laser him, and that's when all this chaos happens down on ice, which was hysterical.
And A-Train actually saves Huey and gets him out of there.
Huey barely exits the building, but Homelander's basically coming to get him, and A-Train zips him away.
Yeah.
And so we know that A-Train's now kind of helping them.
And they know their big plot, their big scheme.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. I mean, this show is I wish it would stay away from
the politics,
the slow politics of that, but I guess it's such an integral part of it, but it's so great. What's your favorite storyline? Like what character's storyline is your favorite?
Uh well, again, I don't know where they're going with this, and again, um, another thing that came out this week is that season 5 will be the last season for the
Right.
boys.
Right.
Uh,
Next season.
right. So we were under the impression that they were going to keep doing this for a while. So a lot of the stories that they're drawing directly from the comic books were going to take a long time to develop, right?
Right.
So they've obviously filled a lot of things in and all kinds of other stuff they've been doing. But now that they're kind of going to have one more season, I feel that this season is going to be, Butcher kind of coming to grips with himself dying and getting at, towards the end of the season, kind of almost, getting to the point where he's going to die, and either something happens to save him or we don't know,
Right.
what happens. Maybe there's somebody out there that has powers to heal people and they can
Right.
heal them, or what, we'll figure all that stuff out. But I do think ultimately, again, I don't want to give any spoilers away of what happened in the comic books because it was, I don't know if they're doing that on the show, but ultimately there is going to be a final confrontation
Yeah.
between Homelander and Butcher
I
at some
think so.
point in time, like next season or something. And I think they're setting up Ryan as their fail-safe to defeat Homelander, because the other kind of plot point that they've alluded to a little bit, if you remember the end of last season, they found this virus, or at the end of Gen V, they found this virus,
Which Butcher confronted Newman about and
right?
told him,
Knows that he knows.
I know you have the virus.
I know
There's
you
a
have
virus.
Yeah, and and Newman admitted it's not ready. It's not strong enough to take him down yet. She's
She
Butcher
said that.
said that. He said, "I know you have the virus, and I know it's not strong enough to take him down yet."
Yeah.
Right. So they're kind of plotting to work together to take out Homelander. But I think the show's setting up Ryan to be the kind of fail safe that they're ultimately he's going to be the one that needs to confront Homelander and take him out. Because there's obviously an emotional connection there that he can use against him, but he's probably the only one strong enough to do it too.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, all like, again, I think these first 3 episodes were refamiliarization of what's going on with the show and who the characters are and all those other things, and setting up kind of the season and the plot of the season. Sister Sage is I think she's an interesting. You mentioned that she didn't seem as smart. If you remember that one scene with her and the Deep,
Yeah.
she had and there was something sitting on the table that had blood all over it. She
Yeah.
had basically stabbed herself in the brain to turn off her brain for like 10 minutes.
Oh, is that what she did?
And that's why she ended up sleeping.
That was a
with the Deep.
lobotomy
Yeah,
stick.
she basically stuck it in her ear and pulled it out so she would, her brain would basically dumb down for a few minutes so she could just watch Transformers 2.
Right.
That's what she wanted to do, just chill out.
Oh, that's why she was like, "You're hot."
Yeah, because her brain's always going. It's always working. She's always like 100% on. So she did that to kind of dumb herself down for a little bit.
Okay.
But I think bringing her on is an interesting plot point in that, I mean, she's now the CEO of Vought. They fired what's the redhead's name?
Oh, yeah.
The CEO. So they promoted Sister Sage.
What happened
CEO.
to the other guy? The guy, Giancarlo Espinosa.
Giancarlo Esposito?
Yes, what happened to him?
I don't remember.
I don't
I
either.
don't know if they killed him or if he just disappeared.
Right. 'Cause
I know he was ousted as the CEO.
Yes,
And it was primarily, well, did Victoria Newman kill him?
maybe.
Blow his head up?
No, but isn't that her father?
Pseudo father. He
Right.
basically
Raised her.
rescued her from what was the name of the place that she was like raised in. It's kind of like a Gen V type of place, right? That she
It was
was
an
in.
orphanage.
Yeah. But yes, so sort of. I don't remember. I'll have to go back and look
Yeah,
and see
I don't
what
either.
happened
That'll
with
be
it.
interesting to see if he's
Stan Edgar is his name, the character's name.
Stan. Yeah, is he still a player in all of this?
Yeah,
I
who
don't know.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad they're back. I mean, this show is so entertaining. Again, even though the 3 episodes were a little slow as far as progress is concerned,
Right.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
Oh, yeah, no
I loved
question.
watching it.
Yeah.
The characters are great.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see where they're actually going with it
Yeah.
this season. That's what
Homelander and his character has escalated to a point of like it's a train wreck you have to keep your eyes on. Like you don't want to stop. You can't stop watching him. He's
Seriously.
so. I mean, he is
seriously.
he is so fucked up, and it's so great to watch.
He was sitting
It's
there
so great to
drinking
watch.
milk with Ryan and you haven't finished your milk yet.
And he blew up on Ryan because he was with Butcher, and he's so frustrated. I don't understand how he just doesn't fly over to Butcher and just laser him to death.
Well, because then he knows he'll lose Ryan forever.
Yeah,
That's why.
maybe.
Because Ryan,
It's so
yeah,
crazy
yeah,
though. I mean, the whole show is. I'm looking forward to watching more of this.
yeah.
Definitely.
I want to
Is it
see where
eight
this is going.
episodes? Is there eight?
Eight,
Eight.
yeah, 8 episodes, I believe. So, hey, this is going to bring us, right up until we're leaving for San Diego.
I
So,
know.
we got something to
Awesome.
watch. So we'll be back every week to give you our take on the
Yeah, they're
latest
talking about
episode.
spin-offs, and I think they're going to do another Gen V.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and we know that there's a couple of Gen V actors in this season. We've seen them in the trailers, so we'll see where this goes. Right,
Can't wait.
that'd be great.
Stay tuned to Super Talk podcast. We're going to be hitting it hard.
Yeah, we'll be covering it each week. All right. Well, let's jump into the news section. We got a few things to talk about over the past couple of weeks since our last episode. Boy, the ever or never ending drama around the Blade film continues. They've lost another director now.
Yeah.
The latest director that had been hired for the film is no longer part of the project, and Marvel has officially delayed this movie indefinitely.
Oh,
They have officially delayed it
really?
indefinitely.
I did not
Yes.
hear that
It's an indefinite
because
delay.
it was supposed to start production in like 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they were targeting a November 2025 release, right?
Correct.
So they wanted to get production moving shortly so that they could make the release date next year. Without a director, that's kind of hard to do.
This big speculation online that everybody's buzzing about is when will Mahershala Ali officially
Abandon it.
bail? And
It's
as
been
much as the problem this movie has had, I think he's kind of some of the problem. And I don't know how to say this correctly, but he's probably the biggest problem this is having, but he's the answer as well. Because if he hadn't have stepped up and complained and put his foot down, we would have gotten trash.
Well, this is something, and I can tell you why he hasn't left. He's contractually obligated to be there. So in 2019, when they, so he had just won, I think, his second Oscar. He met with Kevin Feige and mentioned that he would be interested in revitalizing the Blade character. Marvel threw a big bag of money at him and signed him to a multi-picture deal. And so he is contractually obligated to be part of this unless he wants to breach his contract, right? And give back a bunch of the money that they signed him to. I don't know what he was given as far financially, but I'm sure it was in the at least 10 to $15 million range just to kind of be part of the project. And then, when the movie gets made, you get a little bit more, you get a part of the proceeds or whatever it is.
Right.
So back end side. So yeah, he's contractually obligated to be part of this project. I agree with you. The reason why there's been so many rewrites is because of his dissatisfaction with the scripts that were originally penned, probably justifiably so.
Oh, no question.
And the original storyline, as we had
the leaks were absolutely cringeworthy.
Yeah, I mean, that there was very little Blade in the first movie. It was more about his daughter and Lilith, and he was like, "Look, this is a Blade movie. What are you doing?"
Right.
So from what we understand, the rewrites, and they did bring in one of the writers from
a third writer.
Well, one of the guys from True Detective,
yeah,
and who's worked with Mahershala Ali before. He's now rewritten the final draft, and from what we've been told, they've settled on the script now.
Yeah.
Like the plot has been.
Well, the guy that wrote Logan was also brought
Logan,
in. Yeah,
right. But the script is finalized, the plot's finalized, everything's there. Well, now the director's gone again.
Yeah.
So now they need to hire a new director. So they've just delayed the movie indefinitely. We'll see where this goes from here. If they don't, I mean, I don't know how you hire a director in the next 2 months and start filming in October.
Right.
I just don't see that happening.
No.
It's just, and that's why they just said we're delaying it indefinitely. Think about this, guys. 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Is when they announced this project.
He walked out on stage with a Blade hat 5 years ago.
It is bordering on the length of time between The Rock being announced as Black Adam and the actual Black Adam movie coming out.
Mm-hmm.
That was about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
They didn't he was announced to be playing Black Adam in about, I think, 2015. and they didn't release that movie until 2022. So that was 7 years. So this is bordering on that now.
Wow.
And again, from another story that you, so two things in relation to this, they had hired the same writer who finished the script to start writing the Midnight Suns script.
Yeah.
So they're already working on a Midnight Suns project, and they're already penning the script for a Midnight Suns movie, which is going to include Blade.
Sure.
It's going to be like a follow-on to this, right? And that's being written right now. Now this project's on hold. And here's the other crazy thing. One of the earlier scripts for Blade is now being taken by Ryan Coogler, and he is making a vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan for another studio. And it's going to be basically one of the earlier scripts of Blade that has been tossed around, and he's effectively taking the plot of that one of those earlier scripts and making that movie featuring Michael B. Jordan. Now it's not Blade, it's a different, African-American vampire.
Awkward.
And that movie's going to be made, and it's going to come out before this movie does.
That's a shit show.
Yeah.
That's a bad move.
It's like, what if Marvel, while
why wouldn't Ryan Coogler just take the Blade movie? Why wouldn't he jump on that project?
Great question.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did they ask him? And now he can't, obviously. But here's the crazy thing. It's like, what if DC was making the Aquaman movie, and it was taking them so long, and there were so many delays and script rewrites and everything else, and Marvel said, "Hey, Namor's coming out next year," and the plot of the movie is exactly what the Aquaman movie was going to be. They would be screwed.
That's crazy.
Right.
That's just crazy.
I know. So we'll see where all this goes. Drama, ensues. This was one of the things I was most looking forward to learning more about in San Diego at Comic-Con.
Uh-huh.
I venture to guess they don't even mention it.
I don't
it's
even
such
think
a shit show.
Oh, no.
Unless there's some big announcement, but I don't know.
And now I know Marvel and Feige has met with Jordan Peele. Is that his name?
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Yeah, from Key and Peele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a potential director.
Yeah.
As a potential director. And my speculation was for Midnight Suns. But I would not be surprised if he took over Blade with his horror background. That might be right in his wheelhouse. I think Midnight Suns would be more something that he would want to, but I can't believe Ryan Coogler wouldn't have taken Blade on with his relationship with Marvel.
If we had access to people who knew the answers to these questions, we would have a lot of really good questions to ask them.
No
question. To your point, so give me the real story. What's going on here?
Right.
And why do directors keep leaving? Why do people, why do you keep firing writers? Why do you what's happening? And which directors have you talked to about this project? And why can't you find the right one?
Right. Right.
Is it, to your point, Titanium, is Mahershala really that difficult to work with?
That's what I'm saying. Is he the problem?
He's won 2 Oscars. It's not like he's, and maybe that's part of the reason why, but look, he made 2 phenomenal movies, that won him Oscars. And it's like, how did that not translate?
I get it. Is he the problem? And is he more of the solution? Like putting his foot down, not letting these other movies get made. Bizarre about that Ryan Coogler thing.
There was an earlier script of this movie that was going, because again, the only thing that Mahershala Ali has done with this entire character is the post-credit scene in the Eternals where he
just his voice.
Are you sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
Right.
That's the only thing he's done.
Right.
And there was an earlier script for Blade that was going to include the Black Knight.
Right.
So it was going to be kind of an origin story of Blade. So Blade was born in the 1920s, and it was going to show how he was born and how
now
he got
I hear
his
it's
power.
No longer a period piece.
Right. And then they were going to come back to the present day, and the present day was going to include Dane Whitman as part of that part of the movie. Well, now he's completely out. Dane Whitman's completely out. So who knows when we're going to see the Black Knight character? Maybe not till Midnight Suns. Who knows? But what a shit show.
It's a shit show when Wesley Snipes makes a public statement saying, how hard is it to make a Blade movie? I mean, he's right.
He made a movie with 45 million on a $45 million budget.
And it was just blood and guts and fighting,
Right.
and people loved it.
New Line
Just
Cinema.
the same thing.
And we would not have an MCU without Blade.
No question.
I mean, it was
Agree.
the precursor to the MCU.
Agree.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first movie was great. The second movie was good. The third movie, Ryan Reynolds was in that one, but Blade 3, Blade Trinity or whatever it was. Yeah, that one was a little questionable.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see what happens. Again, I would love to hear some stories about this at Comic-Con, but I doubt we're going to. Now, maybe we run into somebody on the stage floor that has some answers.
Oh, I'd like that. That'd be great.
Well, we're swagged out. They're going, oh, SuperTalk Podcast, we got to talk to you.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
No. All right. So there was a rumor out there this past week that Marvel had contacted Sony requesting permission to use the Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 character as part of their Kang plot.
Dynasty, yeah.
The Kang plot for the next Avengers movie, that they wanted to portray Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, as an ally of Kang in this multiverse kind of war that he's been fighting. And we kind of understand Miguel O'Hara's motivation or potential motivation to be part of this from the Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse movies, we saw. And so Marvel wanted access to that character and asked Sony for permission, and they said no. They said, no, we've got plans for that character, and you might see that character in live action sooner than you think. Now, we know that the Sony quote-unquote universe is in a shambles. It's falling apart at the seams. We know there are 2 movies coming out, one later this year, the other one maybe later this year. It's been delayed multiple times because it's so bad. So we know another item we were talking about here, Venom 3, The Last Dance, released their trailer about a week and a half ago. What did you think of that trailer?
Uninspired.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think it was any. I'm going to go see the movie, and I want to see kind of how they wrap up the trilogy.
And we know this is the last Venom movie with Tom Hardy.
The first movie was okay for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was entertaining. It was okay. I didn't, it wasn't great, but it was good. The Carnage movie was a shit show. I thought it was horrible. I thought Woody Harrelson was goofy and weird, and it just didn't. It was chopped up, and it didn't really resonate with me at all. I didn't like it. But so I'm hoping to get some answers to this, and I don't know. Maybe Sony will pull something cool. They need a home run.
They're not going to get one. I mean, this is going to be. I think that Tom Hardy's very popular. He's a good actor. He's done okay with this character. Again, I have more of a problem with how they've chosen to use this character than I do with Tom Hardy's portrayal of the character. Right. I think he's done fine with what he's been asked to do with the character that was written here. I do believe it seems like the plot of the movie is really centered around this race of symbiotes finding him living on Earth.
Yeah.
And they're now coming to Earth to, destroy him, or there's some kind of plot to take over the world or whatever it might be. We believe the Toxin character is going to be part of the movie. We see a little bit of that in the trailer. We see Venom fighting against multiple symbiotes during the trailer, and they're taking all kinds of crazy forms.
Yeah, some kind of space spider or cricket or something
crazy. And then Venom takes over a horse at one point in time, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, we'll see. That movie will probably make its money back. So let's say it was made for 100 million. It'll probably make 130 or 135 in the theaters. It'll do fine. I don't think it'll bomb like Matt Webb did.
No, it won't bomb.
It'll do fine. But the Kraven the Hunter movie has been pushed 3 times now. It's now coming out in December, like early December, right?
Right.
And our first view of that trailer was, what are they doing with this character?
Yeah.
Make him a hero, and
how'd that work out for Black Adam?
Oh man, we look, we've talked about it at length. I don't want to get into it too much, but if they are doing major rewrites, if they are doing major reshoots for that movie, to get it back where they wanted it to be, I don't think they're doing anything with these characters anymore. These characters are going to be gone. The people playing these characters are going to be gone. They're basically putting a fork in this. I mark it here. I would not be surprised if that movie never hits theaters.
And they release it streaming.
Potentially, or they never release it.
Wow. Wow.
Just suck what they've dumped into it and say, yeah, we're cutting bait here. We got to start.
Wow.
I just think that they realize the mistakes they've made, and we'll see. If there's here's the big indicator, right? We're going to be in San Diego for Comic-Con. If we go there and there's no hype around Venom 3 and
in the Sony booth
Craven,
or anything, yeah,
in the Sony booth, in the promotions they're doing and what they're talking about, we know something's
Craven's
right,
not happening,
or something's not right.
I agree.
At this point in time,
I think Venom will be there. I think Venom will.
Well, because they want to promote it because it is coming out. It
is coming
right.
out.
But if we're not hearing a lot about Craven,
it's on the block.
Yeah,
for sure. Straight to streaming, I would say.
Well, I mean, just think about it. Titanium. They know they have to hit the reset button. They were trying to build their own Spider-Verse. They were trying to build their own universe of Spider-Man characters, and whether that included Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man or not, or some other version of Spider-Man or not, they hadn't figured all that stuff, but they were working on it. And it's been lackluster hit, followed by a bomb, followed by a lackluster hit, followed by a bomb. It was like, Morbius was a bomb, Madam Web was a bomb, and we'll have a lackluster Venom movie and a bomb Craven movie. I mean, it's like, that's not going anywhere. And they know that. Yeah. So the question is, what are they going to do? Are they going to start over? And it would not surprise me if they completely pivoted and decided to focus on a Miles Morales universe.
Okay. I'm all right with that.
Because obviously that character is very popular in the Into the Spider-Verse franchise. That movie, the next movie in that series is coming out next year. I do think they might just say, we're going to pivot to live action Miles Morales and we're going to build a new universe around him.
And stay there.
Yeah. And that's the universe. And if and when we decide to recast Spider-Man,
right,
that's where that Spider-Man will be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
so they just need to do something. They need to pivot. I mean, none of those characters we've seen in those movies so far, including Tom Hardy, who's making his last movie, it's been said, will ever be on the screen ever again. I mean, none of those Madam Web characters are ever coming back.
Oh, no.
Ever.
No.
And Morbius ain't coming back.
No.
So anyway, Sony's in a shambles. We'll figure all that stuff out. Speaking of Giancarlo Esposito, so you and I talked about in the last episode that he had been cast in an undisclosed role by Marvel, and everybody was speculating what kind of role was he going to be playing. Well, lo and behold, literally like a week later, set photos from Captain America 4 came out with Giancarlo Esposito in costume.
Yeah.
And he had basically said, this is a character not many of you know about. It's not who you think it is, but this character is going to make a cameo, and then they're going to be in a series on Disney Plus. And so we saw him in costume. And again, if it's just a cameo, very easy to film a cameo scene, for a movie. And lots of speculation out there of what character he's playing. Again, one of the biggest guesses, which I'm in line with, is a character called Bushman, who is kind of like a rogue, kind of mercenary type of character that starts trouble around the world and seems to always be involved in conflicts and all kinds of other things.
Wasn't he involved with Moon Knight?
Yes. Bushman? And that's where I'm going with this, is that I think the character may make a cameo in the Captain America 4 movie and then be in the Moon Knight season 2 series as the antagonist. And I think that's the series he was alluding to.
Got it.
I mean, you're never going to do a Disney Plus series on Bushman. I mean, it's not going to happen, but Bushman could be one of the villains in the Moon Knight season 2, which we know has been greenlit. Right. Okay, so I think that's the direction they're taking this character.
Interesting. Okay. I like it.
It would be, and was in Moon Knight. That character was in Moon Knight a lot, so they've had multiple run-ins through Moon Knight series. So that would be a good character for them to focus on. So, hey, very good. I'm glad.
Yeah. He looks like some kind of assassin. He was wearing a bunch of knives and stuff. So that would fall in line with Bushman's character.
Exactly. Our favorite movie Deadpool and Wolverine continues to set records.
Here we go.
And I'm telling you, guys, I mean, I don't know if you got, did you see the Father's Day thing that Ryan Reynolds dropped yesterday with the
No.
Aviator Gin Deadpool edition and
Oh
everything?
yeah, I
Like,
saw
yeah,
the Aviator Gin Deadpool
yeah,
edition.
it was like Happy Father's Day. We're doing a what he said. I keep having kids. He said we're gonna make a drink. It's called the vasectomy Deadpool edition, right? And so that's what he did a recipe for it. Funny as hell. They dropped a couple other snippets of some more scenes from the movie, a couple little Easter eggs here and there, but nothing too dramatic. But the pre-sales for this movie have been staggering,
Yeah, yeah.
staggering. They are now projecting this movie's opening weekend, and this is again based on pre-sale numbers. So they're
Right.
taking traditional, typical pre-sales from movies that have been doing pre-sales for the better 2 or 3 years, right? We've been doing pre-sales. So they're taking those numbers and they're extrapolating them out and saying, okay, based on this number of pre-sales, when we get to the release date, how does that translate into a box office opening weekend, right? Because
Right.
pre-sales probably represent what, 50 to 60% of the movie going audience for that weekend,
I think so.
right?
Uh-huh.
So they're saying, okay, well, what is it going to project? It's now projecting out to be in the $230 million plus for their opening weekend.
Yeah.
The largest rated R movie opening weekend ever was 125 million, set by Deadpool 1. So the first Deadpool had the largest opening weekend ever for a rated R movie. This is already going to be over 200 and will set that record easily, but it's going to be staggering for any movie. Any movie with a $200 million plus opening weekend is incredible.
Marvel and Disney needs this home run.
Oh yeah.
And they just got a little home run this past weekend with Inside Out 2, right? Inside Out? Yeah. Inside Out.
Did that do
Pixar?
well?
It did very well.
The Pixar movie?
Yeah, made over 130, I believe, $1 million opening weekend.
It's not bad.
Domestically.
Yeah.
235 million globally.
Yeah, they've not done well recently.
No, and Pixar needed a home run too. So
yeah, because their last was the last Pixar movie. Was it Inside Out 1? That was the last one. No, they did the Wish.
Wish was failed miserably.
Yeah.
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 Not good.
Yeah. So yeah, they needed a home run as well.
It did well. It did very good. And those that are saying that the box office is dead, it's just you got to put good movies out there,
Right.
So this
summer has been, I think, from a movie going perspective, very light.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the big blockbusters, quote unquote, that had been marketed have not done great.
Dune 2 did very well.
Dune 2 did very well. That was in
Furioso. Wow.
It was a great movie,
unbelievable,
but it didn't do great in the box office.
It did not do well at all.
It got a little bit panned. You and I both saw that movie. I loved it. I thought it was great, but it didn't do very well.
No.
Planet of the Apes, that one did not do well.
I have yet to see that.
I haven't seen that one either.
I'm gonna probably see it when it streams, and that's my whole
thing
now. Movies that are just, I'd like to see that. I'll wait till it comes out on streaming. Just be patient.
Yeah. So, Disney needs look. This movie is going to kill it, and we're going to find a way to see it. That's for sure.
You know what I watched? I watched that movie Hitman on Netflix.
The one
Glenn Powell.
Oh, so that's the Glenn Powell version.
Yeah,
because didn't Timothy Olyphant do a Hitman movie too?
Yes, but where he was bald and he had the thing.
Yes, the thing in the back
this is like a dark comedy kind of movie. It's very good.
Did I watch that? I want to say I did.
He's a school teacher.
Oh yes,
and he's like a nerd, and then he plays a hitman for the police, and then he gets wrapped up in this murder.
Oh right,
it's really good.
Okay, yeah,
it was a
little hokey.
Oh yeah, but it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
And I sat down to watch it, and she like halfway through was like, "I'm out. I'm gonna go watch Real Housewives." I'm like, "Okay." So it was okay.
That mind mush Real Housewives.
I know it was okay. Two good announcements here, and one I'm looking forward to. The other one I'm not really sure about, which hopefully we'll get some more details about this summer. So the rumored series, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man animated series,
Animated, huh?
is now announced to be coming out this fall on Disney Plus. So this is
This fall?
this fall.
Wow.
So this was originally billed back in 2019, 2020, I believe, when
It was on the slate.
was on the slate. It was called Spider-Man Freshman Year was the original name for this series.
Correct.
And we were wondering what was going on with it. We were wondering what was happening with it. Well, now it is official. It's now called Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's going to be Spider-Man a little bit younger, kind of when he first got his powers, in the MCU at least. Um, we only saw Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man after he was already in college and
Yeah.
he was, or high school, right?
Late high
He
school.
was in sophomore, junior
Graduating
year of high
junior,
school.
yeah.
So we're gonna go back and see him a little bit younger, and it's going to be, an animated series, and it's coming out this fall. So that's really
that's
cool.
good.
We're
That's
gonna
good
see that
news.
this year.
Great news.
Yep. And first solo property for Spider-Man, by Marvel, only by Marvel, with no Sony, because they don't need Sony's permission to do TV shows. They need their permission to do movies.
Okay.
So this is a 100% Marvel project. So
it should be decent.
yeah,
Let's hope so.
Let's hope. Yeah. And then the other one is, so when James Gunn did his announcement of the DCU, he kind of announced a slate. We know the first movie that is coming out is Superman.
Yeah.
Right. It's just called Superman now.
Yep.
Right. So they've renamed it now. It was Superman Legacy or something like that. And now it's just Superman.
Just Superman.
That movie, I believe they've wrapped principal production on that movie. Yeah. They're obviously going to come back and do some reshoots and retooling and things like that. But we had all kinds of cast photos and everything else from the set of them filming that movie. And that comes out next year.
I saw a photo of him and a crew behind some monitors looking at whatever they had just filmed. And Chris Pratt was sitting in the crowd.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that comes out, I believe, next July.
Right.
I believe Superman comes out. But that's kind of the official cinematic debut of this new DCU that James Gunn is in charge of. However, the first show that is going to be part of the DCU that's going to be canon for the DCU is Creature Commandos, and he talked about this when he was doing his introductory speech for the DCU. This is an animated feature featuring like the Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster and Dracula and everything. And they kind of have like a superhero team made up of creatures, right?
Right.
And they are voiced in
Rick Flag Sr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that he said is that even when we do animated projects, the people that voice those characters in animation will play them on the screen if we ever bring them to the big screen. So he wants his continuity. Well, that is now slated to come out on HBO Max this fall.
Wow.
So we will see Creature Commandos this fall, the first DCU project.
And we know some Creature Commando characters are in Superman.
We know at least one of them.
At least one.
Yeah.
Which possibly two.
Yes. So that will be coming out this fall. And again, I do believe, which we'll talk about here in our topic of the week, I do believe we'll hear more about this summer. So,
I hope so.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our topic of the week this week. That's brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios, home of the Man Band, Corn on the Cob.
Corn on the Cob.
Hope you guys are having a good summer, Studio
Yeah,
GG.
absolutely. I think they've taken some time off to spend with their families, and they'll be back in the studio soon with some brilliant new classic hits.
I'm sure. Thanks, Studio G, for all you do for our program. So topic of the week this week, I did want to, as most of our listeners know, we are going to Comic-Con in July for the first time ever, and we're super excited about that. And I wanted to just chat with you a little bit about what you're most looking forward to in attending Comic-Con. Like, you and I have never been. So it's like, whether it's the show floor or presentations or announcements from studios or access to speakers or autographs or merchandise, like, what are you looking forward to? Whether cosplay, like, what are you looking forward to most?
All the above. I really am. I intend on being SpongeBob SquarePants there. Just soak everything up. I just want to experience it, and I'm really going in with an open mind.
I've got an idea.
My expectations are pretty low, to be honest with you, because I don't know what to expect. So what I'd like to find out there is probably some casting announcements and probably some highlights on shows or movies that are up and coming.
I've got an idea, and
Sure.
I'd like to see if you're up for this potentially. Would you be interested in wearing a GoPro for any period of our time there? Like just like walking in the first day and walking around and going into
Sure.
like just
We're gonna do a TikTok live there. Can't do Facebook because I got Facebook hacked and our account was stolen. To be honest with you, we have no more Facebook account, and it's brutal. Facebook sucks. They have no support. They send you to a web page that is this endless loop of nothingness. It's awful. But we're gonna do a
that
TikTok live.
mother Zuckerberg.
Yeah, well, the fucking hackers. And we'll do some reels. We'll do some Instagram reels and we'll do a TikTok live there. But yeah, I think that'd be kind of
I
cool.
think it'd be cool to just put a GoPro on and just film like walking in,
Yeah,
walking around, seeing everybody because you can describe it to people and you can take pictures, but I don't want to walk around the thing with my phone like this the whole time. That'd be
yeah,
kind of weird, but just like having a GoPro like mounted on your
that'd be cool.
that would be kind of cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
So we'll figure that out. But yeah, I think look, the show floor I'm very interested in. Obviously being a big comic book nerd myself, I do want to see some of the vendors out there and what they're selling and what they're showing and what they're announcing and look, I've spent a few years since I've been religiously reading the books, but and frankly many of the new storylines that are in the comic books are being heavily influenced by the media. And
Mhm.
so this we'll say comic book media, like the movies and TV shows, are influencing now the stories that are being written, which is unfortunate because it used to be the other way around. Um, but I do want to see, just who's there, like, who's there, are there new things that are coming out, or there new, you know, stuff that's I
Yeah,
some of all the cool things on the
yeah.
show floor I'm interested in seeing.
All the above. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And what knows? I mean, the thing to do for these celebrities is dress up in cosplay or put a mask on and walk around amongst the crowd. You never know
so
who's
they'll be
under a
like under a
mask.
Boba Fett mask or something, and
Yeah.
they'll be
Or
walking.
who was it? Uh, the Superman,
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill put on a mask and walked around Comic Con. Let me ask you this, Professor. Did they have a Comic Con last year?
Yeah, nobody went. If you remember, that's when all the studios abandoned it because of the writer's
Okay,
strike.
but
Yeah,
it did
it
happen, but
happened.
nobody went.
Well, people attended, but none of the studios were present at
Right.
Comic Con
So
last
this
year.
is the studios are back in for the first
First
time
time.
for 2 3 years.
Right. And if you think about it from Marvel's perspective,
Because wasn't it online because of COVID at one point?
that was they did a virtual Comic Con in
2020,
2020.
2020.
Yeah, it was virtual.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so look, last year we had a writer strike and a pending actor strike. And so they couldn't bring people on stage. And so all the studios basically skipped it last year. And if you remember, we were expecting a number of announcements from like Marvel, for example, on like D23 and all this.
Fantastic Four news.
Nothing came. We got nothing. We heard nothing. We got the big virtual presentation from James Gunn because he wasn't at Comic Con. So what I'm looking forward to the most as far as announcements are concerned, I think each studio has a lot of work to do to reinvigorate and revitalize their audience,
Agree.
right? Marvel, especially since Infinity War, when they had, in 2018, they had Infinity War come out. It was like 2019 when Infinity War came out. It was the greatest movie ever, as far as comic book movies are concerned. And they went into Comic Con in 2019 and had this amazing show and announced Phase 4 and brought Mahershala Ali out at the end. And they were all excited about this. And if you look at all the things that they announced during Phase 4, during that announcement in 2019, we've seen all of them with the exception of a couple that were shelved. And all of them, with a minor exception, well, I'll say major exception, Spider-Man No Way Home was just spectacular.
Yeah.
But everything else was either highly disappointing, if not bad.
Yeah.
And so they have not had a successful, I'd say again, Shang-Chi, I really liked,
Yep.
even though there were some problems with it. I really liked that one. I think Moon Knight was fantastic.
Yep.
Um, X-Men 97 was great that they just came out with, but their movies have been very lackluster. And they need to recapture their audience
Oh, I
and
completely
hit the
agree.
reset button, right? So
They're
I'm
still filming Captain America
for.
4.
Yeah.
It as we speak. I don't think they're
Right now they're actually in the studio.
yes,
Right, like absolutely right now.
I think they're absolutely redoing that whole thing.
Yeah.
I think it tested so poorly
Yeah.
that they're reshooting until the end of the month. I think it stops filming like on the 28th or something.
Yeah, so they have to revitalize and reinvigorate the audience. They have to get them excited again. Again, we know they have one project out this year, which will be releasing the day that Comic-Con starts.
Ugh.
So, look, we're going to either have to go in there with earmuffs on, or we're going to have to go see that movie at some point in time because everybody's going to be talking about it. And it's going to kill the box office. It's going to go do gangbusters. And I'm sure it's going to be a big part of Marvel's presentation about how successful this movie is. But here's what I want to hear from them. We know there are projects on the slate. I want release dates. I want casting announcements. I want the Fantastic Four cast to be brought out on stage.
Yeah.
I want all of that stuff. And I want to know, what are they working on next? I would love the biggest thing that they can tell me that would get me excited. I don't need to know all the plans about, I mean, we hear now Secret Wars is not coming out until 2026, 2027, possibly 2028. Who knows
Right.
if it's going to be 2 movies, it's going to be 1 movie. We don't know any of that. So I want to get some clarity around all that stuff. But I do want an announcement about the X-Men movie. That would make people excited. I mean, just look at what X-Men 97 did on Disney Plus and how well it was received and how excited it got the fan base about these characters again. They need to take that momentum and use it and say, we've already got a script, we've hired a director, we're in the process of casting, and we've got a target date of May 2027 for the X-Men reboot movie.
And the next saga is the Mutant Saga.
Might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need some big announcements from them. And again, they gotta, there's a lot to do there. Here's what I think we'll see. I think we'll see a trailer for Captain America 4.
Okay.
A teaser, at least. A teaser trailer.
Yeah.
I think we'll see that. I think we'll see a Daredevil Born Again trailer or teaser.
More so, yes. I agree. Yeah.
I think we'll see that. They might do a little bit of Agatha, a little bit of Spider-Man freshman year stuff because we know that stuff's coming out. Maybe a What If season 3. They may do a little bit of that, but they got to get
Ironheart.
Yeah, and Thunderbolts, maybe even an early snippet of that too, because we know that's been heavily in production, right? So, they got to do something to get us excited again.
I'm getting fired up for Thunderbolts for some reason. I think that is going to be surprisingly better than what I'm anticipating.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting fired up.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get us excited about next year. I mean, because we already know this year's only one thing, really, and I mean, it's going to be out when we're there, right?
And it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah, but they got to get us excited. So that's what I'm looking forward to from them. From
anything of Nova, are you excited about Nova or anything about Nova?
Yeah, I don't want speculation.
Yeah, you want
So if you have something to announce, you want to announce, are we going with the Richard Rider version of Nova or not?
Alex, whatever.
Yeah. And are we casting already? Do we have a person? Yeah. If you have somebody cast, bring them up on stage.
Yeah.
If you have something to tell us, don't say, hey, we're working on this project, Vision Quest. Here's a logo. And with no detail.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't need that. Speculation does nothing for me. Give me some details because they're very. And they went years where they told us too much and it bit them in the ass because they couldn't meet their dates and their timelines and all that other stuff.
Brutal.
And then they went dark completely and stopped telling us anything. Yeah. And they would only tell us like a week before something came out that it was coming out.
Yeah.
So,
a little bit more than a week, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's frustrating.
So that's what I want to hear from them. I do think
give us a plan.
I do think this will be a big year for DC.
Yeah.
I think James Gunn will be there. I think they will do a Hall H presentation. I think they're going to get us really excited about Superman Legacy
teaser
or Superman. I think we're either going to get a teaser trailer there. I mean, they got to get us excited about this. And then we'll get some, I'm sure they'll be talking about, the Penguin series that's coming out on HBO Max. They'll be promoting that. They'll be talking about Joker Folie à Deux or whatever it is. Folie à Deux. They'll be talking about that, which we did see the trailer for, which just looks wacky as hell.
Yeah, I'm not into it.
But
Creature Commanders.
I think we'll definitely get a trailer for that. But I do want to we know that they've hired an actress to play Supergirl.
Yep.
Right. And so, like, what are their plans? What's the timeline? All those other things. And I'd love if they gave any announcement of the Batman.
Batman 2.
No, not the Batman 2.
Oh,
no,
The Bold and the Brave.
Brave and the Bold. Yeah, if they do an announcement about that, like if they give us a casting announcement for who's playing Batman in that.
Well, the guy, they did announce the guy that directed the Flash movie. What's his name? The guy that directed the Flash movie. He's writing it with somebody else. And they did say that they have a rough draft of a script already that they're writing. So
that's what I'm looking forward to from them. Again, I trust in James Gunn. Look, for some reason, everything he's done on the Marvel side has been great. Peacemaker has been great.
Peacemaker 2, they've already started filming that.
Yep. So I'm really looking to maybe hear a little bit of details about that. But I trust in James Gunn. I mean, he knows what he's doing. Sony, look, my expectations could not be any lower for you right now. And you've got one property in your holster right now that's worth a grain of salt, and that's the Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, franchise that you guys have created, which has done very well. And the next movie's coming out. We'll probably see a little bit about that. But tell us, like, what's happening?
Yeah.
What are you doing with these characters? If anything, right?
Yeah.
So,
announce a live action Miles Morales.
Nothing could be better. Yeah, that would be, or Spider-Gwen, whatever, do something fun, whatever, that'd be great.
Yeah,
so
they put that Silk series on ice, which is a shame. That would have been kind of cool.
As far as the other things, look, I want to hear more about Invincible season 3.
Yep.
Rumors are that is slated to come out early next year now because it's already done kind of pretty much. So that's supposed to come out, pretty much around the same time, like December, January timeframe for next year. I'd love to hear about that. I'd love
Give
to
me
hear
live action though, man.
Gen V season 2. I'd love to hear more about that.
I need more live action announcements.
Yeah. So look, all these studios have a captured audience, and you've got your people there, right? Promise me you're going to hold true to the fans and do the things that the fans want.
But the big one for you that you'd lose your mind would be any kind of X-Men announcement.
Oh yeah, they make any kind of mutant announcement. What? And if you remember, even 2019, you was like Kevin Feige, and we didn't even have time to talk about mutants. Well, you haven't talked about them for 5 years.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Excellent. All right, Professor, school's over. Let's ring the bell and get out of town.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com, or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
Corner of the man.